Right, hello, hello. Testing, testing. I don't know if anyone can hear me. This is my very first broadcast, so I'll give you a few minutes if you wanna come along. It says zero viewers. It's the first time I'm using Google Hangouts, so we'll see how that goes. I'll let you see my face if I can do that. I'm just getting the hang of this. This is my very first introduction to mind mapping. So yeah, there's me. Hello, everybody. Thanks very much for watching the video. It's going to last for about 45 minutes, I think. If you've got lots of questions, it could last longer. And we'll have a quick introduction to mind mapping. What is mind mapping? How can you use it? And various things like that. So I'll just hang around for a little while and see if anybody wants to come along and say hello, so that give people a chance to catch the beginning. It's my, like I said, it's my first time using Google Hangouts for a hangout, and also my first time using various things like Windows 10 and mind map, the mind map software which I use. So it should be a bit of an adventure for everybody. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. I'm going to try and see if I can get some questions here. Yeah, I've just opened the group chat. So if anybody is there, you can say hello and I'll say hello to you. I'll let you see the program for the webinar today. At the moment, it looks like this. And do let me know if you can hear me as well, because if you can't hear me, then that's not going to be much fun for anybody. So if you want to chat, there should be a place where you can type in the chat box saying, yes, I'm here. Yes, hello. Happy to be here. Excited to learn about mind mapping. So do let me know, and I'll see if I can get that to work. So let me just give you a little introduction to what we're going to do here today. We're going to, what you're looking at now is a screen full of a software program for making mind maps. It happens to be called iMindMap 9, but we're not talking about the software today. We're talking about mind mapping in itself. So it doesn't really matter if you mind a map by hand or if you want to use software. We're talking about the principles of mind mapping, not any particular software. There will be other webinars which I'll be doing for that. So having a look at the plan that we have here, welcoming the early birds. So theoretically, if I click on this little button here, I get a list of early birds, or those who said that they might be here. So I've got Azza, not sure how you pronounce that. Azza said she was coming. David said he was looking forward to it. Marcos and Svetlana. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly either. So theoretically, I've got 4 people who will either be watching now or who will watch at some point in the future on a replay. We'll be looking after that. Let me just show you me again in case you've just arrived. This is me. Hello, welcome. Me, Sab, the Mad Mind Mapper, who you may have come across on some of the things on the internet that I've been doing. My website, Mind Map Mad, or the group for mind mapping, or perhaps on Twitter, Facebook, and so on. So I'm a bit worried that people aren't able to enter the chat. So I'm just going to try and enter a chat before we get going. So we'll get going in about 5 minutes, okay? Just going to get everything ready, give people time to arrive, and let me get the software working as well. It's a webinar for beginners or people who are interested in mind mapping as an idea. Let me just chat hello in the box. So that's come up. I'm here at least. So I am on the webinar. So I'm pretty excited about that. If anybody else is there, then feel free to type something in. Okay, just checking out some of these commands here. I'm pretty new to this software myself, and we'll get going in about 3 minutes. You can see in the background there a couple of mind maps which I've done. The one my finger is on now is one that you might have seen on a little intro video I did for my son. We looked at the different colors in his world. We chose the 6 colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet or purple. And we made a mind map out of them, taking pictures of things around the house in that color and turned it into a nice mind map. And the other one is one that I did myself. Okay, so let me go back to the screen and I'll tell you what the plan is for today, and then we'll get on with it. Assuming all is going well and you can hear me. Okay, so the first part is welcoming the early birds. We've done that. Today's webinar is going to cover a little introduction to me, Sam Will, the Mad Mapper. Ask questions anytime you like. It'll last about 45 minutes. The intro video is something I'll show you in a second, and the introduction is what I'm giving you now. So the intro video, if you haven't seen it, was a little thing I created, and I'm going to try and I'll do 2 things. One is, on this software, you can actually embed links to videos. So if I click on this link here, theoretically, a video will come up. Theoretically, I say. Something came up, didn't it? What happened to that? So, you want to know more about mind mapping? Great! At Mind Map Mad, we're crazy about mind maps, and we think you should be too. All right, well, that's one way of doing it. I'm not going to force you to sit through 2 of those, but I wanted to show you that you can do that by linking to a mind map, linking to a video in your mind map in this particular software. And you can also watch it on YouTube. And just in case you haven't seen it, I thought I would show it to you anyway. All right, so this is some of the things you should be learning in today's webinar. Let's see if this works. And I'm not sure if the quality is going to be any good because it's you watching a video on my screen. So let's see what happens. Be back in 1.5 minutes. So, you want to know more about mind mapping? Great! At Mind Map Mad, we're crazy about mind maps, and we think you should be too. Is mind mapping fun? Yes! Is mind mapping only for kids? No! Is mind mapping quick to learn? Yes! Is mind mapping excellent for education? Absolutely. Is mind mapping brilliant for business and perfect for professionals? It certainly is. Is mind mapping fantastic for families? For sure. In fact, in almost every aspect of your life, using brain-friendly mind maps can make you better organized, more creative, and a faster learner. You don't even need a computer, but there are some amazing software programs out there if you want. So, how do you mind map? Well, there are some simple but important guidelines to make sure you and your brain get the most out of this amazing productivity tool. Come along to our absolutely free webinar and learn all about the wonderful world of mind mapping. That's what you're watching now, folks. See you there. All right, so maybe you saw that, and to watch my next mind mapping webinar live, come along to mindmapmad.com/mindmapintro, which you theoretically have done if you're there, or maybe you're watching it elsewhere. Right, so let me get rid of that, and let's get back onto what we're doing. So after a little history of mind mapping, I will tell you a bit about why it works, or why people say it works. You'll discover that it's not necessarily the same thing. We'll talk about some mind mapping guidelines. In other words, are there rules to mind mapping? And if there are, what are they? And should we follow them? And also, we'll look at some useful applications of mind mapping. What can you actually do with it? Which is what quite a few people wonder once they've discovered it or read the book or invested in some nice expensive mind mapping software. They think, well, that was very nice, but what can I actually do with it? So we'll be looking at that as well today. And finally, I'll tell you a bit about me and what I'm trying to do in the mind mapping world. So let's go back here and look at a little history of mind mapping. So mind mapping came along. Well, you could say that visual techniques for brainstorming or working out problems have been around for quite a while. I mean, a long time. For example, this guy here, Porphyry of Tyros, I can't quite pronounce his name. He was using something kind of similar to mind mapping a long time ago, many, many centuries ago. Some people claim that Leonardo da Vinci used mind maps. Well, I'm not sure about that, and I'm not sure there's evidence that he has, but he certainly used techniques for visual techniques, as you can see in a lot of his notebooks. Um, in modern times, modern mind mapping has been credited, indeed, he would say he invented it, to Tony Buzan, who was someone who was very, very interested in how the mind works. And he also had experiences at school which suggested that he was stupid. And in fact, he wasn't stupid, but the school system of learning wasn't serving him. So he did a lot of research into the way the brain works and ways of learning. And he's become a real renowned expert on memory techniques and speed reading and so on. And he also invented what we know today as the modern mind mapping and the structures that we're familiar with, if you've seen the pictures. In fact, if you type mind map images into Google, you'll, let me just get rid of this, you'll actually find things like this, which is a million mind maps of all shapes and sizes, although you'll note that most of them are very colorful. Most of them all radiate out from some central image, so they're recognizable as mind maps. But you could say the idea's caught on. So mind mapping as we know it today is pretty much down to Tony Buzan. He became well known with a TV show called I think it was called Use Your Head, and this was a book as well. And I have a copy of this book somewhere on my bookshelf. Then his most recent fame, I guess, is through mind mapping and books like the Mind Map book. And he also teamed up with someone called Chris Griffiths and created software All right, people, I don't know if you're still there or what happened. Well, I know what happened. We had a power cut and my computer went off, everything went dead, and bye-bye webinar. So I had to start the computer again, and we'll see if we can carry on from there. Okay, sorry about that. I will carry on. I almost stopped, but I will carry on because you've made the time to be here. So let's have a look and see if we can carry on where we left off. I was telling you about Tony Buzan, the grandfather of mind mapping. So we talked about him and what he created. Now let's see why they say it works. Now there's some dispute about this. Some people in mind mapping circles will say that it works because it mirrors the structure of the brain perfectly, and the way, and to an extent that could be true, but I'm a skeptic. I'm not a cynic. I'm a skeptic, which means that I don't believe things unless they make sense or unless I have evidence which makes sense to me. And it may well be that it mirrors the structure of the brain perfectly. I just have a little problem with that because it's almost as though when you create a central image here with your main idea, a little central image pops up in your brain, and then when you build your main ideas out from the center, little main idea lines, neurons start popping out from the center of this idea, and so on. So I'm also not an expert at all on how the brain works. So if it mirrors the structure of the brain perfectly, that's wonderful. If it doesn't, well, I find other reasons why I love mind mapping. And some of those are that, for one thing, it's fun. And that's possibly the main reason I use it. And I'll put it quite simply. I do things with mind maps which I wouldn't do if mind maps didn't exist. In other words, what I'm doing now, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be trying to create new mind maps, learn new topics, and even just creating, having fun, treating the mind map itself almost as a work of art if mind maps didn't exist. I'm not a boring black and white list person. I don't really study these days, and I certainly wouldn't study for exams or revise using boring lists. But with the advent of mind maps, it's re-inspired me, and that's just re-inspiring me. But then now I'm in the process of discovering what you can do with them, and that's a whole other world. So one of the main reasons I like them is because they make me do things that I wouldn't do otherwise, and it's fun. They talk a lot about right brain and left brain. Now you've got to be careful with this. I put an asterisk next to this, if you see here. Why did I put an asterisk next to it? Because you have to be careful these days. In the days when mind maps, Tony Buzan was working on his mind maps and so on, saying, almost calling people right brain or left brain was very much the thing. You know, oh, you're a right brain person. You like creative things, you like going out into nature and so on. Oh, you're a mathematician, you're an accountant, you must be a left brain person. This sort of thinking is now quite outmoded and possibly incorrect. You need to be a bit of both. You can't chop your brain in half and say, I'm a right brain person, forget everything that the left does, or vice versa. It just doesn't work like that. Having said that, I think evidence and common sense tells you that if things are colorful, they're more fun and motivating to look at than if they're in black and white. If there are pictures, then it's more stimulating than if it's only text. And sometimes adults seem to have problems with this, or, you know, it doesn't seem serious in business if there's lots of pictures and images and so on. But I would ask people, what do you do when you, at the end of the day, when you finish your work, which is probably looking at text in front of a computer, for example, you go home and you go to the theatre, you watch people pretending to be other people on a stage, you go and watch films, you go to art galleries and look at abstract art, which is a bunch of colours thrown at a canvas. And that's adults doing something to relax after a heavy day in front of a black and white text computer screen. So I would say that I'm not embarrassed to say that I think mind maps are wonderful for everybody. It's the way we like to learn, or it's moving towards that or back towards that. You can just think of that as kids as well. How did we learn our first language effortlessly with no lessons at all, no lists of verbs to learn? Well, we learnt it on our mum's knee. We learnt it looking at pictures in a book with words that we didn't understand. We learn it through laughter. We learn it through reactions to what we try to do, reactions which are the right ones, so we do it again, or the wrong ones, so we don't. So I'm perfectly happy with mind mapping, even in a serious adult context. So one of my main aims is to try and get people to take it seriously, because it's, in a way, infinitely more powerful than some of the classic and boring ways of learning. Mind mapping guidelines, are there any? Well, yes, there are. Now let's just have a look at some of them. And when I say guidelines, Tony Buzan calls them laws, I think. And some people have a problem with that. And I'd like to take a second to explain my point of view on this. I think if you like the idea of mind mapping, I think it's worth learning the so-called laws or rules or guidelines, as I prefer to call them. If you're going to do something, then you might as well learn the basics, and then you can break the rules as and when you feel that it's useful. But if you don't know the rules or the basics at all, then you're just doing anything and nothing. So there are some, if you want to do mind mapping, learn the basic rules, and then you decide to break them as and when. And you can, and you certainly should. You shouldn't feel that you're stuck to the way of doing things as outlined by one person 40 years ago. But like anything, like I say, like with photography, if you want to be a good photographer, you really need to know about exposure and shutter speed and aperture and so on, and then you can play around with it. So what are some of these rules? Well, here's a mind map, which Tony Buzan did himself, I think. It's an image, so, and it's not a very big one, so I can blow it up, but the quality isn't that great. So there it is, or maybe I can do it another way. I've got another image here somewhere. All right, and here are some of his guidelines. For example, the paper, he suggests, should be landscape. It should be blank. You should start with a blank piece of paper in front of you. Of course, this could be a computer screen these days, but a blank computer screen and a horizontal computer screen. So if you've got your computer screen portrait style, turn it around immediately, please. You should start with an image. I'm going to jump around these. You should start with an image in the middle, and this image should represent your idea. You can have text as well, but you could, like I have here. Here. You can have an image with text on it, Introduction to Mind Mapping. But if you want, you can just have an image. They say the cliche is, of course, an image is worth 1,000 words. Well, if you don't want any words, maybe it could be worth an infinity of words. If the image speaks strongly enough to you as the central topic of the thing you're trying to create a mind map of, with, I suppose, the purpose of remembering more easily, then an image could be all you need. So big, strong image in the center with or without words. The lines are very important in the concept of mind mapping. They radiate out from the center and they get thinner as they go out. So here you can see they're thick towards the middle, showing their importance, their close relationship to the central image, and they radiate out and they get thinner as they branch. At each new branch, they're thinner, and the text on them is also getting smaller. And this is to represent the fact you're going into more detail, but less overall importance. I guess there's a concept, an idea which you've maybe heard of, that the brain can only deal with about roughly 7 things in one go. So with the main image, you've got around 7 things, main branches radiating out, main ideas. And as soon as you go to one of these ideas, forget what was behind it, forget the rest, focus on that. That becomes the new area of focus, for example, and then you can have up to 7 more radiating off that. You might want less. The lines can be quite artistic. You can actually use them symbolically. For example, if it represents a wave, you could make the line wavy. If it represents, the words can also echo what they mean. So you could have the word big as a really big word. So it's linking ideas and images and words together in a way which stimulates the brain. The brain likes plays on words. It likes fun, likes puns. So if you can include those in your map, it'll make it more memorable and a million miles away from a boring black and white list where there's no distinction between any of the items. The words should be keywords. Choose a keyword for each line, place it on the line, and the line, that, according to the rules, should be about the same length as the word. So the words are closely linked together. And Tony Buzan is very strong on the idea that there should only be one word, one keyword representing one idea on each line. As soon as you have more than one word, you're limiting yourself, he says, to and you're limiting your imagination. One of the main concepts of mind maps is that you have an idea in the middle. You have an idea that comes from that. You put it on a line. Then more ideas come from that second idea. And the more open the possibilities are, in other words, one word, you can attach a million things to one word, like Manchester. You could attach Manchester, you could attach football, city, council, the Smiths, all sorts of things. But if you wrote Manchester United, you're almost stuck into the world of football. And that's an example he gives, which just came to my mind. So there's one of the key ideas, one word per line, and the line's roughly the same length as the word. Let's move on. Okay, images, big central image, and images throughout. This is another thing he's very, very strong on. The good old idea. The brain loves images. So put images, relevant images, and codes and diagrams and so on, and icons either linked to words or instead of words. So for example, here you can see there are items on a line and there isn't actually a word. That's a very common use. You can actually have a line with a word, a line with an image, and then more words. So the image can actually replace the word if you wish, if that's how you want to remember things. Colors are vital as well. Now, you might want to consider your use of colors, because one of the things that happens with mind maps is that they're so colorful, crazily colorful, they sometimes put off people who are thinking of using them in a serious manner. If we look at the page of mind maps again, you can see what I mean. Just tons and tons of color. And if a lot of people worry if they put this up in a business meeting, for example, they just would not be taken seriously, which is understandable. And we'll come to that in a minute. We'll talk a little bit more about that and how you can get around that. And it's very easy to get around it as well. You can make mind maps look quite serious if you wish, while still using the power of mind maps. And if you flip that around, businesses and professionals are getting very much into creativity and visuals as a modern and powerful way of brainstorming stuff, getting new ideas for products, problem solving, and so on. So move the mind map towards the professional world, and the professional world at the same time is moving towards more colorful, innovative techniques for solving business problems. So we're okay. We're going in the right direction. So yeah, structure radiating out from the center, and I think that's about all we need to talk about there. That's what mind maps are. Let me show you another mind map quickly, which says the same thing, and you can see how individual these can be. This is the same thing. It's another mind map on the laws of mind mapping. Completely different style, but the same subject matter. One of the great things about mind mapping is you create the mind map which is right for you. It's your mind map. It's unique. You've chosen the lines, the colors, the shapes, the images, and for this, you will remember it more. So a lot of people learn by writing things down and repeating them. But if you create something, you're not just writing down, you're creating a unique work which represents your knowledge in whatever area it is you're trying to use it for, be it a presentation, the topics of a presentation, or the main key points of a subject you're studying for an exam for. You create the map, your brain remembers it because it's yours. You chose that image, you chose that color, you chose that shape. Right, we're moving on. It's we're well over halfway there, so we're on time. Useful applications. I didn't put much on this branch because I don't need to. You can use it in business, you can use it in education, you can use mind map for personal reasons. And I think I've found some examples of those. Here is an example of ways of using mind maps in business. And it's a nice example. It comes from a book by Chris Griffiths with Tony Buzan. Chris Griffiths is the guy who approached Tony Buzan to make software which echoed the style of his mind maps. And if you look around, and you should look around if you're interested in mind mapping software, there's a whole load of them. And some of them are very serious looking. You almost, when you think of mind maps, you don't think of their software because they seem to be so serious, straight lines, not many colors. This might be just the way people are using them. But it's true that although you can do that with this particular software that I'm using, you can also go to the other extreme, the Tony Buzan extreme, as you can see here. And you can see various applications just in business, core business skills up here in the right, talking about yourself, CVs, negotiations, ways of looking into pros and cons of various business problems you might be having or challenges, giving presentations, put your entire presentation onto a mind map. Either use the mind map just for yourself, don't show it to them, but use it as a very handy technique for remembering what you're going to say, or present your presentation through a mind map, as I'm doing here today. Projects, plan projects, brainstorm them, perfect for those. Better business thinking down here, different ways of thinking about problems. Basically, any business model you can imagine can be used in conjunction with a mind map. Better business outcomes, change, goal setting, appointments, follow-ups, the sales process, and then it talks a bit about software as well. So there you can see plenty of ways, and that's just in business. If you imagine for education, it's perfect for education. It's perhaps the ultimate use of mind mapping, and the first use was in education and learning how to study effectively in ways which the brain likes, ways which the brain remembers, using all of these techniques which used to be called right brain techniques: colors, images, fun, personalization, and so on. And in the personal world, you're limited by your imagination only. You want to plan a holiday, use a mind map. You want to plan your grocery shopping, use a mind map. You want to plan your life, use a mind map. It's all there. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about mind maps. It's a big area. And let me tell you a little bit more about Mind Map Mad, which is my mind map website and initiative. I went on a mind mapping course. I rediscovered mind mapping a little while ago, about a year ago. And although I had discovered it for the first time back in the 70s, because I'm old, quite old, through Tony Buzan's book, I dropped it and I discovered it. I was at a turning point in my career, my life. I'm 50 now. And I thought, am I going to carry on doing what I've been doing for the rest of my life? Or am I going to try something different? I went with the second option. And I discovered mind maps. I discovered courses for learning about mind mapping. It happened to be through Tony Buzan and his company. And I went on the course and I reread the book, and I decided to set up a mind map website, which is one of my hobbies, setting up websites. One of my problems is that I set up too many websites and don't take them through to completion. So I'm hoping that mind mapping, amongst other tools, will help me focus. And so far it's worked, because it's a year now and I'm still into mind mapping. The website itself is a mixture, really. We do training. So it could be training. I'm working on creating courses online at the moment. And I'm also looking to work with companies, go in and help them out. And I've also got a little bit broader and made mind mapping just one part of a kind of global approach to helping companies be more creative and innovative. Mind mapping is a wonderful tool for that. We have forums. I'll show you in a minute. We have awards. So I created awards. It's all about being creative as well. Mind mapping is great for stimulating new ideas, and it's done just that with me. So I've invented an awards scheme. Just me, just invented it, but I give it a go, see what happens. If I get a reaction, great. If not, nobody's going to die. I also have an arrangement with iMindMap. I'm not going to go into that today, but I have an arrangement with them that I can resell their software at a discount. But that's not really what interests me. What interests me is creating additional packs which I can sell on top of the software as added value. And that's what's really exciting, what you can do with the software, not just the software. To be honest, I would do that if I didn't sell the software. I would still be creating packs, which I'm doing right now, of how to use the software and how to use it effectively and usefully. Like I said at the beginning of this webinar, a lot of people, they buy the software, they don't know what to do with it. So that's what I'm going to be going into in much more detail over the next few weeks, what you can actually do with the thing. And finally, webinars. So that's what I'm doing here. It's my first stumbling attempt. Thanks very much for the power cut. If you've just joined, we had a power cut. What could be worse? Act of God? No, I think the power cut was worse. We just died. The webinar died, and you had to hang around for about 5 minutes until I came back. So I'll be doing this webinar every week. That's my plan, and hopefully it'll get a little better each week. It couldn't get much worse. I'm also going to be creating training on this particular software. I don't mind what software you do. I want you to get into mind mapping. Okay, you can even watch these webinars that I do, even if it's on this particular software, and you should learn stuff to transfer to your software, whatever you use. If you are into iMindMap 8 or 9, then this is for you. We'll be going into lots of detail. We'll be focusing specifically on certain things in each webinar. They won't be very long, so you can come, it's focused, you'll get to see someone doing something and hopefully get some new ideas on that. There's two types of two editions of this software. There's the basic version, which is just the mind mapping application, which is the core. It's the exciting thing. It's the reason why it exists. So I'll be doing stuff just on mind mapping, what you can do with the mind mapping thing. If you happen to get the ultimate version, that includes other stuff, and I'll be doing specific webinars for people who have got that version, where there's a brainstorm view, there's a fast capture view, there's an amazing presentation view. You can export it to all sorts of places, and there'll be webinars for that as well. Let me just finish off this webinar, because we're coming to the end, by me showing you a couple of things that I do on the internet. So that was my training video. There'll be more to come. This is my website. You see I show some of the mind maps that I create here. You can see them going along the top. There's one on me playing around with a 7-minute ritual in the morning. This was an alternative to Tony Buzan's rules for what makes a great mind map. This is me in another existence on English tenses, and these are some which don't focus on mind maps. This is my awards page. There you are, the Mappy Awards, I called it. Please have a look, see what you think, comment and vote in the forum, which I'll show you in a minute. So in each of these, each month, I focus on 8 different areas: business mind maps, educational mind maps, personal mind maps, general mind maps. These are kind of taken out of the air, these categories, but, well, why not? English mind maps, because I'm an English teacher by trade, so that interests me. Kids mind maps. These could be mind maps for kids, by kids, or about kids. Doesn't really matter. Fun is very much at the heart of my site. So anything that's fun, I've given it a category on its own. The whole thing is fun, but you see what I mean. And finally, drawn. Now, I started off by having this as the only category for hand-drawn ones, and the rest were made with software. But I've changed that because I found that, to be honest, if you read the section on my site on what I think makes a great mind map, not many mind maps were meeting my criteria, which had been created on software. I was quite disappointed, to be honest. So I'm moving back to some of the amazing hand-drawn ones, hoping that, and as and when great mind maps that come along, which have been created on software, catch my eye, or you suggest them to me, then I will highlight those. So that's every month. Feel free to contribute mind maps, your own or others that you like. In the blog, I also highlight mind maps that I've created and talk about them. I either talk about why I did them, how I did them. I'm probably going to do some videos on dissecting how I did each one and why. And as a human being, I also talk about the topic that I've chosen. Nothing to do with mind mapping, just the topic. For example, this is a way of starting the day with 7 amazing minutes. First minute, have a bit of peace and quiet. Second minute, upload your missions and goals for the day. Third minute, say how amazing you are to yourself. This is all in the privacy of your own home, folks. You can even do it nude. 1 minute, jumping up, jumping around or stretching. Minute 5 is a timeout, take some water. Minute 6, write down some things you're really happy about in your life. And minute 7 is reading some inspirational quotes before you start your day proper. I give all of these mind maps for free. You can download them in all sorts of ways and so on. This is our forum. There's 2 forums actually. One is for mind mapping in general, and the other is for users of the iMindMap software. Come along, it's great fun. I really enjoy meeting people. There are some really nice people there. And there'll be more as time goes on. And I think we've moved to the end of it. I think we're there. I think we're there, people. All right, so let me come back to you. It's me. I'm still here. I fell off the planet for about 5 minutes. Sorry about that. And managed to hop back on again. I'm really sorry if you were left hanging. If you stayed desperately waiting to see my pretty face again and you were rewarded, then thank you. Well, what can I say? You know, the electricity stops, the electricity stops. So thank you very much for watching my very first webinar. I don't know if I'll make this a replay because of the disaster which happened, but it'll exist. So possibly if I do keep it private and you desperately want to see it again, you can ask me for a private address. Otherwise, what are the next steps? Well, feel free to get in touch, of course, on the forum. For example, join, it's free. Or if you're already a member, say that you got something out of the webinar, or tell me what you would like to see next time, or suggestions and so on. And also come along to the next webinars, which I imagine might be of more interest to you if you already know something about mind mapping. Feel free to participate. Right now, I don't know if anybody actually watched or if you could hear me, if the microphone was working. I know nothing yet. So it's going to be a big surprise to me as well, and probably a bit of a cringe-worthy surprise at points. This is the first of many. I appreciate you being here and watching on my first attempt. Let's get this community going and make it as lively and as fun as possible. If you have mind maps you want to contribute, send them in and I'll talk about them. We can have a section on these webinars where we look at people's mind maps and talk about them, what's great about them and what could be done differently, or alternative ways of doing them. We could have a kind of a workshop on that. So on that note, thank you very much for visiting. I'm sorry I didn't get the group chat going, but having said that, it's only me, so you wouldn't want me to watch me typing. That wouldn't be very exciting, would it? So, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so it's me, Sab, the Mad Mind Mapper, signing out, and I look forward to your reactions with a certain dread, but a lot of pleasure as well. Okay, take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.